Findari spoil and reinforcing defences, as well as hunting down the traitors who had escaped. Within one system so weak, they had complete control over the Findari spoil system. A victory was always a positive thing, but upon the forge of 8 Armedian, they knew that this was merely the beginning. While the first victory for the Loyalists had been important and thankfully straightforward, the near simultaneous counter-assault by the traitors would hit back twice as hard. The critical production subsector of Near Drina had been eyed with greed for some time by those forge who resented their forcible entry into the Imperium, and they now sought to take by force that which they believed themselves to be entitled to. It was only a couple of weeks after the Loyalists had arrived and secured Findari spoil at its warp entry point did the traitors enter the Nidrina subsector. These ships were cited as being aligned with the forge worlds of Urdesh and Calabrax, and they smashed through perimeter defences with ease and moved to secure a primary base of operations in the region. Their timing for this was in fact perfect, as they had entered the system during the typical cycle for negotiation within the subsector. The worlds of 8 Armedian and Graia had traditionally benefited the most, but it was customary during this time for each forge world only to be allowed to maintain a minimal presence within the subsector for obvious reasons, so the arrival of the traitors with scores of titans made this system essentially ripe for the plucking. One wonders how, given the situation, this oversight had not been considered more thoroughly by the Loyalist forge worlds, as they were by now well aware of the danger to them and the Imperium, so it seems a heavy mistake on behalf of the Loyalists. In fact, the Loyalists barely engaged with the enemy at all, quickly conceding that they were absolutely outgunned, and any attempt at defense would be futile, suicidal, and a waste of materials. Instead, they regrouped and redeployed at the Shilakini system, and their aim would be to defend the subsector's capital Hive world and hope that they could hold out long enough for reinforcements to arrive. The traitors continued to secure worlds around the sector and take control of the various adjacent systems, but largely ignored the capital world initially. When they did so, they were finally slowed and even became stuck in a difficult battle of attrition with the Loyalists. The combined fortifications of the Hive defences, coupled with the Loyalist Titan reflow, making any approach assault costly for the traitors. They will instead double down by directing materials and reinforcements from the recently secured systems of the subsector and began pouring supplies into the capital world to support the traitors' assault. In a disturbing act of things to come from what would eventually be the Dark Mechanicum, the traitors also began to mass lobotomize citizens of worlds which were deemed to have become a non-essential workforce, and many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of drone-like warriors, more akin to something like an arco-flagellant, were thrown indiscriminately at the Loyalist Hive city. There was little hope that this would have any positive effect of breaking the city, but it was carried out as a means to diminish the morale of the Loyalists, and this was undoubtedly a success. Having to slaughter many thousands of clear innocents who were little more than fodder is no act of honour or glory for the brave warriors of the Imperial Guard, PDF, or a Titan Princeps. As time wore on, the communications sent out by the Loyalist forge worlds were becoming ever more desperate. The first sign of relief for the Loyalist defenders came when a fleet from 8 Armedian entered the Yanazali system, carrying along with them 2 full maniples of Legio Venator Titans dispatched from Arachnis. Their first objective to secure was the mining world of Yanazar 4, which contained significant and critical mineral deposits. Under the cover of a heavy orbital bombardment, the Iron Spiders descended to the surface and marched upon the entrenched Impalers who guarded the sole strip of mining quarries that had survived. Their assault was successful, but as a new wave of traitor ships entered the system and the Loyalist fleet driven off, the Titans on the surface now found themselves in an extremely dangerous position. They would soon face a whole wave of ambush dropped by Legio Venator of the planet Urdesh, who had fallen so easily into the pocket of the heretical fabricated general of Mars. The Loyalists were now trapped upon Yanazar 4 and facing down a significant force of traitor Titans. The Loyalist forge world of Graia would now come to the fore. It launches a significant fleet to begin pushing back against the encroaching and offensive forces of the traitors within the system of Uridokini. At Uridoki 5, a month-long Titan conflict is engaged to retake the mining colony from the traitors, but it unfortunately causes extensive damage to the planet's industry and infrastructure, not to mention a total of 8 Titans being felled and 13 others taking significant damage. Meanwhile, at Uridoki 2, the population is slaughtered to a tenth of its previously recorded number in a nightmarish campaign by the Night House of Godrieve, who had participated in supporting the Great Crusade, but who quickly gained a reputation for dealing with any who stood or spoke out against the Emperor or the Imperium with one response and one response only, and that was brutal slaughter. Where House Godrieve marched, death followed, and only deeds of blood were wrought in their name. It will remain forever unknown if such actions were committed out of a perverse desire to lord their strength over others, or out of a need to show the Imperium that House Godrieve was the strongest of all.
I won't let you
When the
down.
news reached Dalinar of the War Master's betrayal, they chose a new path, and tragically, the first to feel their blades were the people of the homeworld of Dalinar. House Godrieve turned its machines of war upon those who no longer respected their glorious knight household, and for any who might dare call out to the Emperor for protection. The House Knights of Godrieve were born anew during this time, baptized in the blood of their own people, that they would forever forge themselves a new legacy of bloodthirsty conquest as they reached into the stars to tear down the Imperium. They were driven from their world by House Moraine, who arrived as part of the Loyalists pledging to defend the minimal survivors. But even then, as Godrieve abandoned the planet, they left behind them mountains of dead arranged in disturbing parodies of human form pinned together en masse were discovered. The survivors protected by the Loyalists were even then struck down by a mysterious plague which cut down as many as 300,000. The cities of Uridoki 2 were ruined, and the planet was left in a shambolic state. This was fairly the norm during the heresy, and one of the reasons why even post-heresy, the Imperium was left in a significantly weakened state. Many worlds were effectively razed and left as smouldering ruins with entire populations annihilated as a tribute to the Dark Gods. And this for many worlds meant if they were not entirely scoured of life or turned into hellish dark forges, the population were condemned to a miserable, slow death of exposure, disease, anarchy, or starvation. The final gut punch came to the traitors as the Loyalists rounded on Uridoki 3. They faced only a small garrison of enemy Titans, and Graia sent as many as 20 Titans to break them, which they did handily, more an act of spite and vengeance than tactical necessity. The enemy Titans had no chance against the Loyalists. This, though, was possibly a miscalculation by the Loyalists, as the traitors, seeing they were obviously facing obliteration, decided instead to detonate nuclear warheads across the surface of what was an agri-world, annihilating its biological life and severely irradiating the entire world. It additionally ruined the planet's atmosphere and exterminated the entire population. When this action became known across the Belt of Iron, it triggered on some planets immediate surrender, and the traitors who feared they would suffer equal fate should they not give in to the will of the traitor forge worlds. It also contributed to further insurrections even within fleet anchorages and caused considerable damage to some Titan maniples in storage. The Loyalists felt that they had turned a corner, but were still feeling demoralized from the apathetic slaughter displayed by the traitors across many worlds. It made them question their entire approach. After all, what can men do against such
Yes, let's fucking go. Let's fucking go.
Insurrection sweeping through the entire belt of iron was creating ongoing problems for the loyalists, but it was not limited to them, as huge delays were being seen in deploying reinforcements by the traitors as well. Within many traitor-held sectors, there were continual acts of sabotage being carried out by loyalist dissidents. This led the traitors to become forced to redistribute titans deployed at Shiloh 2, which was still in a state of being besieged, as the loyalists tried to hold out within the capital hive city of that system. When news that the traitors were actively